Good afternoon, everyone. I understand that once I click start, people are going to start coming in, but I'm going to get started right now because there's just some introductory material. This will be recorded for later viewing. So let me kick off by saying welcome, everyone, to this Meet the Candidates event. My name is Tim Igo. I'm the president of the Valley of the Sun Pro chapter in Phoenix, Arizona, SPJ chapter strong. More important for today, though, I am proud to be the nominations committee chair, and it gives me great pleasure to sit down with some of our most committed members, those who showed the leadership, vision, and willingness to run for an SPJ office. Wherever you're watching from, please give them a round of applause. Some housekeeping before we get started. This is the first of two candidate events being held before the SPJ convention. Today's is focused on the regional coordinator candidates. This year, 8 SPJ regions have elections. The second candidate forum will focus on board candidates, both at large and officer positions. That will be held next week on Wednesday, September 20th. And so I'm not lying to you, I am placing in the chat right now that registration information. So today we have a large number of candidates, so we're asking for you to place your questions in the Q&A. Ideally, you'll send those only to me, but I know we all prize transparency and I'm not the boss of anybody. So if you want to send it to everybody, that's fine too, whatever works. I'm sorry we can't have people question the candidates directly, but time constraints don't allow that. That was my choice. And if you have any suggestions of how we could do this better, I am happy to hear it. I am placing my email in the chat. Remember, you can contact any candidate directly. All their backgrounds are available online along with their accomplishments and why they're running. Please take a look at that link in the chat. So let's jump in. We're first going to hear from candidates in regions where their candidacy is uncontested. After that, we will hear from candidates in regions with multiple candidates. This year, there are 2 contested races in Region 3 and Region 8. So first up would be Stephanie Overman, who just contacted me to say that she has an eye infection, is unavailable. So I do really encourage you, seriously, to click on that link. Take a look at what Stephanie says. She's a longtime SPJ leader. Her race is uncontested this year, but I do encourage you to get to know her. And I've got to tip my hat to her. She lists as her prized skill tenacity. And I'm going to steal that because, man, oh man, do I need that in SPJ and otherwise. So, and then I don't see Joe Radsky yet in the chat. He is our uncontested candidate for Region 6. Now, Region 6 is, and why would you know this? I always have to look it up. Region 6 is Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. If you're in those states and you're a member, be sure to click the link, send Joe questions, find out what he stands for and why you should care about his candidacy. Best wishes to Stephanie and Joe. So that brings us now to Loretta. Loretta, I'm so pleased to see you here today. Our next candidate is Loretta McGraw, running for the Region 7 coordinator position. She proudly represents hardworking journalists in Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, and Nebraska. Loretta, maybe 3 minutes. I probably won't time it. Just be on your best behavior. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much. So as he was saying, I am Loretta McGraw. I am currently the Region 7 coordinator. I became the Region 7 coordinator last year after the position was left vacant. Unfortunately, I didn't understand why it was left vacant at first, but I see that being a region coordinator, even though it's a volunteer position, is a lot of work. You are going to be committed to all of your peers and all of the members that have been there since years before I've been involved with SPJ. Fortunately, through SPJ, I've been able to get involved in a lot of different activities and programming. And through that, I've become a leader in ways that otherwise I wouldn't have seen possible. I'm very excited to continue to be a Region 7 coordinator and unopposed this year. Although it's a little bit of competition would have been fun, I am very excited to continue with my region and keep the progress underway that I've currently got going on board to expand my region, as I've got two current universities that are looking at getting approved at the board meeting at the end of the month when the convention is in session.
Wow, Loretta, on time and under budget. I love that. So I am fascinated. I have heard of a very small number of other people who have helped shepherd new chapters, new student chapters, and I don't know if you have 30 hours in a day. Tell me why you decided that was important and how you did it. Again, briefly.
Yeah, no problem. So I decided that it was really important to usher in student chapters because of my own youth, because I got involved as a student just a couple of years ago when I was still at Iowa State. And I didn't get involved, unfortunately, until my very last semester because it wasn't very well advertised. It wasn't promoted to us as a student. And then when I found out about the program through the Student Leadership Institute at the time, I knew that this was something that was a resource for me, but it could be a resource for so many others. And so in addition, to getting the current student organizations expanded, I've worked with the University of Missouri right now, and I can say that as of this year, we are now
I'm
at
sorry,
over
I apologize. I didn't realize anyone could hear me. I'm sorry, I didn't realize anyone could hear me. I thought I was on mute.
No worries, Raphael. Thanks.
All right. Yeah. So I just, we've now got well over 100 members in our student university group at the University of Missouri. It's a very good school of journalism. And then right now we're working on the University of Nebraska and Lincoln, as well as Lindenwood University to get established.
You know, Loretta, I noticed that I just put something in the chat about regional conferences, and I see in your materials that you helped lead a conference that included an outside partner. And I know what national tries to do that. I don't see many regions do that. Why was that important to you?
Yeah, because I am a new coordinator, I didn't have a lot of experience hosting an event on my own, and my region is very widespread. We don't have chapters right now in Iowa and Nebraska, though we are working on getting those established. And so I knew that being very central to the Midwest, there's a lot of really great journalism conferences and events that already exist that I could co-partner with and get the ball rolling. And so at the spring conference, I wanted to make sure I got involved with the Midwest Broadcast Journalism Association, and I worked with Joe Radke so that we could co-host our annual conference, and it turned out to be really good. We had great attendance and we had a lot of fun, and I got to see some of the members that I get to email and coordinate and teleconference with finally in person.
That's one of the best things, isn't it? It really is. Yeah. Well, I can tell you that as a chapter leader and my multiple conversations with those who are regional coordinators, that's one of the biggest lifts is that regional conference. And you know, any ideas we can steal, I'm happy to do it. So thank you so much, Loretta. Thank you so much. Snaps to Loretta, everybody.
Thank you.
Now, next up would be Donald Myers. Donald sent me an email a few minutes ago, and he says, I'm sitting in a courtroom right now for a suspect in a gang shooting outside one of the local high schools. The joys of being a crime and court reporter. So I get that. Apparently, his job is more important than us. That's all right. I get that. It's no problem. But I don't think it's unfair for me to tell you, especially as Donald is in an uncontested race. Some of what he tells me, he says, in passing, I try to meet with my chapters as often as I can, usually through Zoom, and help them with SPJ matters, as well as take their advice on regional matters. I'd say the biggest challenge facing chapters is the same one our industry is facing. Number of reporters is declining, plus the fact that for a lot of journalists, especially at smaller outlets, $75 a year is a big ask, and more if you have to add chapter dues on top of that. I think the key is in having good programming, which I'm happy to say my pro chapters do, showing that people showing the people there that there's value in membership in SPJ. And I would suggest at National, we look for ways to make membership more affordable, either by decreasing the total amount or continuing with monthly installments, which we currently do. And finally, he says, I think the key to getting younger journalists in is to get them while they're in college. Could be the case. I just sent letters to all the schools, and I read this not just to tout what Donald's doing, but for us all to steal these ideas because we all benefit. I just sent letters to all the schools that entered our MOE contest, urging them to consider starting a chapter, which is pretty cool. I know in our region, we have a lot of schools participate, students participate because they like the hardware. And honestly, I have not followed up to encourage that, so I should. Donald continues, I got into SPJ through the student chapter of Brigham Young. In my humble opinion, the student chapters are going to be the salvation of SPJ. Well, amen. So thank you so much. So the only I had a number of questions for Donald. The only one I really have is I haven't met him in person, and I can never understand if he's a Don or a Donald, but I'll find out at the national convention. So he'll tell me in person. All right. So next up, Hometown Pride leads me to give a special welcome to Ankita Kumar, who is the Region 11 candidate. I don't know Ankita yet. Region 11 covers California, Guam, Hawaii, Nevada, excuse me, the Mariana Islands, and hey, Arizona. We in Region 11 are thinking about journalism long after the rest of you have gone to bed. Ankita, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tim. And this is our lunchtime, but I'm glad we can do this. I was just wrapping up my lunch. Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm Ankita. I'm based in San Francisco, and I'm from Tim's region, which is Region 11. And as you all know, it's a huge region. It's got some of the biggest, it's got the biggest state in the country, which is California. And there's a lot of good journalism happening in Region 11. And I was originally part of the Awards and Honors Committee, and I was at the FLA this year. And that's when I got to know there's a position called the regional coordinator, and I said, why not be the liaison between national and the chapters, because we have such amazing chapters. We have San Diego, we have LA, we have Valley of the Sun, and yeah, and NorCal. So yeah, I just want to do a good job and be that point of contact between all the chapters and national, and also for unaffiliated members in the region. And one of the first things I would love to do is obviously boost membership, tie up more with campuses for Mark of Excellence Awards, and obviously make sure that all the challenges the chapters are facing are being resolved on a timely basis and establishing that channel of communication.
Fantastic. Ankita, so nice to meet you. So tell me, you have been active in the SPJ honors and awards process. What do you think we should be doing to update award categories? And nobody got questions in advance, so if you're gobsmacked, I apologize. Update award categories and get student journalists more engaged and aware of this.
Thanks for asking that, Tim. We are already working on it as part of the Awards and Honors Committee. So this year we are working together on making sure that some of the categories, which are, say, the larger categories, have like subcategories, say, for example, podcasts. We're also trying to make sure that categories like magazine, which have like one entry from, say, a student versus like, 3 long articles, written by a team of like 10 people, are distinguished so that it doesn't seem unfair to somebody, one person writing a magazine article. So we're working on these things. We're also working on making sure that we have a more cost-effective process for judging, because right now we have the RCs who get a stipend and they look for, judges across the country. So we're trying to figure out a way to, minimize the effect on the RCs and also maximize the effect on the judges, like just get judges across the country, because one of the struggles we've had this year was finding judges. So we're already working on these things. And in terms of membership, I have some ideas. One of the first things I would love to do is maybe get some supporters of SPJ and ease them into the process of membership, get them an idea of what the SPJ is, because that's how I got into it. I attended an event and loved it, and I said, you know what, I think I want to be a part of the SPJ, and this place feels like family to me, so I want to just give back.
Wow, I should have closed with that. Family, I love that. The funny thing is all of us work on products, magazines, newspapers, websites, and we're always looking for ways to find a new thing, a new way to tell a story. And I'm so happy to hear that the committee, the awards committee, thinks about having award categories that match these new things that we're all putting out, because it's an area I probably never would have given a thought to. So, Akita, thank you so much. Looking forward to working with you in the coming years.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Tim. And yeah, I'm looking forward to everybody else's vision and views as well, and meeting everyone at the national convention.
It'll be great. Fantastic. So we are ending our non-contested race portion strong by welcoming Jennifer Ellis, who is running for the Region 12 coordinator position. Region 12 covers Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee. Jennifer, tell us what's up in your world.
Well, I'm Jennifer Ellis. I'm running for Region 12 coordinator. I've practiced my love of journalism and design for almost a decade, working at the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, the state's largest newspaper. I started out as a special sections designer, and in my current role, I'm the creative services managing editor. So I've definitely seen the power of storytelling and how that brings people together and helps drive some positive changes in our community. I started with SPJ as the president of my campus chapter at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. From there, I held leadership positions locally with Arkansas Pro chapter, and then nationally, I've been the Region 12 coordinator for the last 4 years, and I also serve on several committees nationally. I've led award-winning chapters and organized conferences and fought for transparency within our organization. So everyone who knows me knows that I'm somebody who gets things done. I've recently been working with members to reestablish a Memphis SPJ chapter, working on providing some training opportunities to some other chapters in Mississippi and Memphis, and then also supporting chapters, of course, with programming, and Region 12 is lucky to have some funds available, so we're able to give grants regionally as well. Of course, we can always do more, and SPJ needs more communication, more collaboration, more innovation. So I'm proposing this year a virtual SPJ Innovation Summit. I really want to work with my fellow RCs and the board to provide an opportunity for our members to come together and, toss around ideas and dig in, do some brainstorming to elevate those society's ideas for the society. Of course, in Region 12, we have a few dormant chapters that are struggling to recover, especially after some of the natural disasters that have happened here, as well as the pandemic. So I'm, of course, committed to working with them and helping to identify some new leaders and, fostering programs that help bring us together. SPJ just isn't a bullet point on my resume. It's really where my people are, and it's where we find support and professional growth and collective voice that helps amplify the impactful work that we all do. And I just appreciate all my Region 12 members for standing and helping support me and to continue advocating and championing for all these values that we all love in this organization that we love.
Jennifer, I love that. And so tell us more about the summit. Who's the target audience for that? Because, we have the Leadership Academy, which tends to be aimed at, newer generation journalists. Who's the summit for?
So I'm really thinking of this as just anyone who is interested in the future of SPJ, any of our members. I feel like we have so many local chapter leaders whose ideas don't really get brought to national, and we have a sort of an underground SPJ gaggle that talks about things that they want to bring forward, and I just feel like it never comes together. And so I'd like to be able to bring everyone together to really just bounce ideas off of each other instead of having ideas already just presented to us.
That's great. You know, I'm also curious. So when you joined your first chapter, it was, I don't know if this is a fair adjective, flagging. But within a few years, it was like a chapter of the year honoree. And then, as you say, you've also helped some struggling chapters. As an RC, what can you do to go in to re-engage people, drive interest, and support leaders?
So I will say, as an RC, I just like to work personally with some of the chapter leaders who are interested in doing new and innovative things. For example, the Arkansas Tech University, just Megan Toland is the advisor there, and she's fantastic. And she's always looking for new ideas. And so her and I have bounced ideas off of each other, and she's implemented a couple of ideas that I've given her that ended up being program of the year for the chapter. So I think just working together to come up with innovative things. You know, regional coordinators, when we do our judging of the chapters every year for the chapter awards, we really do value innovation and new things rather than just panels and, you know, that type of thing. So I think working with your regional coordinator directly to inspire you about things that you can do that are out of the box is definitely where regional coordinators can help you out.
That's awesome. That's very, very cool. You know, inspiring people to do something creative. That is, that's next level RCing. So Jennifer, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And also I'll tell you, I'm sorry, I'm looking to my right here because I, you know, very wisely was dropping in these brilliant links from SPJ stuff as we talked about things. And then I look over and I realize I've just shared it with the panelists, not with the audience. So I just reposted it all. So it's all there, everybody. Make sure you click the links and learn a little something about the people who are running and about your organization. So now we're going to turn to the two contested races. Working backward in number, we're going to turn to the Region 8 coordinator race. Region 8 covers Oklahoma and Texas, and its 2023 candidates are Melissa Enaje and Laura Garcia. And going alphabetically, Melissa, please start us off with your introduction. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much. And I really do appreciate saying my last name properly. You actually nailed it without me even having to say that. That doesn't happen quite often. So yeah, my name is Melissa Enaje. I guess this is my introduction, right?
It is, yes.
Okay, wonderful. It's a pleasure to be here in this space with you all. Very inspiring just to see other passionate volunteers for this organization that I've been, you know, exposed to majority of my career, but in terms of like super intense involvement in that sense, I would say I've been mostly out of the atmosphere. But that being said, that doesn't necessarily, you know, disqualify, in my opinion, the sense of what we're bringing to the field of journalism. I've actually come from the East Coast, originally from Houston, but I've been back about 8 months. I served as a youth editor and reporter for one of the oldest religious newspapers in New York City, The Tablet. And in that position, it was a lot of fun because I kind of took into that role, kind of what I want to bring into this role in any capacity. It's kind of revamped, think outside the box. And I really think that would be very, very helpful for SPJ as a region, SPJ in general, even just to our local chapters, because what I did was I partnered with a mentor who was also in the Deadline Club at New York City. And we basically revamped a page that was never changed in its entirety. And it became a youth page literally for the youth and by the youth, where I just became the editor who recruited and found basically student reporters who wrote for me on a weekly basis, wrote columns about, you know, what they were doing in their schools and their communities. And I think that same kind of energy, like Jennifer was saying earlier, that the younger generation will really be the anchor for this organization going forward. I truly believe in that. And my experience with that was one of the students that I had, who was one of my columnists for the newspaper, for the youth page, actually surprised me at, I was speaking at my alumnus for their capstone project, I was speaking to student journalists, and the last student they had talked to me was one of the students from high school who is now graduating in the field of journalism. And she was the last person to ask me questions about the field and what she's going into. And that really struck with me that like you can really impact this field by just believing in people, the younger generation, and as well as partnering with those who have wisdom, which are everyone, in this organization, who are the leadership, who are the ones really pivoting and pushing it forward and trying to bring new ideas. And so that was really special. I think that energy can revamp what I could bring. It could revamp what we're seeing today. And I say all this saying that, I really do applaud everyone in the efforts they are trying to bring this organization forward. All volunteers and things like that. I come here into this space kind of like this outsider with new eyes, new ideas, new energy, and I'll still bring that forward in whatever capacity, regardless of the outcome. So thank you for having me.
That's great, Melissa. We feel that. Absolutely. Welcome. And Laura, why don't we turn to Laura Garcia now to give some remarks, and then we'll have a little conversation.
Okay. Hi, my name is Laura Garcia, and my real job is I'm a night editor at the Texas Tribune. And so we're an online news outlet that can be republished in newspapers across the state for free. We partner with ProPublica, with Frontline, with so many other different folks on investigations. And it's been a year there that I've been doing that. So that was exciting. And right as I was getting my job, I went to the conference last year, the Media Fest one in DC. And I remember sitting in the meeting and seeing that nobody was running for Region 8. And I'm like, hey, that's my region. And I at that point, I was like, okay, well, let me raise my hand. I had been president of 2 student chapters when I was in school way back in I think since 2010. And so I've been involved in that way, and also with the pro chapter here in San Antonio, which is very robust. Right now, we're actually, in a little bit, I have to go to rehearsal for a gridiron show that we do for our student scholarships. And it's like an SNL style show, a bunch of skits where it's like hyper local. We make fun of the headlines. I will be dressing up as one of the council members, but there's like an AI takeover Alice in Wonderland theme. It's very weird, but we raise a lot of money and it's for the kids. And a lot of journalists are doing it here locally. And that's what we like to do. I think that it's so cool to always be pushing innovative things, but like the gridiron has been going on for so long that you can still just bring fresh people into it and make this long-standing event amazing still, and do what you got to do. And so I think it's one of the things where when we were looking at awards and we were looking at the different chapters as an RC that I was doing, I was like, San Antonio does this amazing event, but you don't really see that on the paper, and since they've been doing it for so long, it may not be like innovative. And I was like, well, so anyway, I think that there's so much good in the different chapters in what they're doing. And even if it is a panel, like it could be a cool panel, at our last regional conference, which I had less than 2 months to pull together. We raised money for our student chapter at Texas A&M San Antonio, and for the pro chapter, and also for our region. And we partnered with folks. We had folks that just wrote checks like, hey, believe what you're doing, and gave us money. We had more than 100 people. We had opened up with a panel of journalists who'd been covering the Uvalde school shooting. And so we had it was just really powerful, and we were able to live stream that and share that with a wider audience. We had a whole bunch of sessions all day, and it was a lot of work, but so worth it. And it was good. I mean, there's a lot of things that I want to continue to do as RC that I feel like I wasn't able to really do in the last 9 months. So, but it's like there's a learning curve too. Like you have to learn all the different chapters throughout the region, and a lot of them are inactive or just not used to talking to the RC who's trying to talk to national. And so you really are that liaison role. And it's been fun. It's been a good experience.
Great. Well, on the Gridiron Show, picks or it didn't happen. Because if you're donning a costume, you are stepping up like no journalist I know. So that is very, very cool. One thing, Laura, and I have maybe a question for each of you, and we'll see where it goes. Among other accomplishments, I saw you put on a successful regional conference, which you mentioned, and this caught my attention. You said that it made a little bit of money for the host chapters. So inquiring minds want to know how. Yeah, very cool.
We kept the admission entry so low as we could get it. I think the students, it was like $20, $15, something like that, and just enough to pay for their lunch, the lights, the janitorial, that sort of thing. But once we got the ball rolling, there were so many folks and organizations locally that were like, "Oh, that is so cool. I have my marketing company, we have journalism swag. Can I donate that for the winners of the students getting their awards that day?" Yeah, can, like I said, the former president, Rebecca Aguilar, she was like, I can't make it this year, but I'm going to write you a check. You go, girl, And so, I mean, it's like just having those different folks that want to kind of come together. Who did we get? We had like the Headliners Club in Austin. The Texas State chapter actually had a connection with them, and they have these sort of grants all throughout the year. And so she was like, "Yeah, we need to have an opening mixer, right?" And so they paid for that. And so it was amazing. It was really good.
That's awesome. Very, very cool. Melissa, let me ask you, when you talk to younger journalism students, what would be your argument for SPJ? If they're of a mind at all of joining something, they may be thinking about ONA, an affiliate organization that's doing great work like NAHJ or NABJ. So what are you telling them about SPJ? And what are they going to get by coming in and meeting with others?
That's a great question. I think you first and foremost, in my experience, having organized multiple events for the paper that were youth oriented, overseeing like the high school press awards with every high school in Brooklyn and Queens, as well as kind of overseeing the new Tablet Junior, which was a student run and led newspaper, and kind of being the coordinator for that and editing their work. I think my experience with that is first and foremost, like selling journalism, but how do you sell journalism? You tell them first and foremost, like, you're here, I'm an editor in the real world, but today you're not only a brother, a sister, a friend, you're a student journalist. And then like their eyes like light up. And then I tell them they have the capacity, just because I'm on this side of the table, like you have the capacity to talk to the president of the United States tomorrow. Like, what are you talking about? You don't. And then their eyes light up. Like this was an example of a panel that I did at Community Impact, where I serve as a Harris County reporter now. We had some high school students that the other editors brought in, and they had me sit down, and I was like, they were so quiet. And I was just like, you're in you just started a school newspaper and you're nervous to talk to us. I said, no, today you're student journalists. You can talk to the president of the United States. You could talk to that business owner today and really believe in your role. So it's kind of bringing that adaptability, inspiring them to believe that their voice is important. And then they just wouldn't stop talking after that. I mean, that was a problem. They were talking about this small little pizza shop that they wanted to know the owners, and why is it the only pizza shop in town? So even no matter if it's a big city like New York City or a small town in Texas, which we have these young journalists who have to believe in themselves and that their voice is important, and especially young journalists of color. I think I really did enjoy bringing that, having the young women, write for the first time and say they could use this in their high school, college resume that they were published. And, And again, I was so surprised to see that student who is pursuing it in her full-time, career after college. Oh my gosh. So yeah, it's believing in themselves. And then why would they want to be a part of this organization? I would say you'd have to be the face. I can't be the only person. I'd want to introduce them to why this matters in their career. Because at this point, they're like, well, I think I want to be a journalist, or I think I want to go into like content creation. I think I'd have to really hone in with people who look like them, and the wisdom of those who are leaders, and kind of make it feel real for them. So it would have to really bring SPJ. I'd have to, beyond my words, invite them to events. That's why, like, with the local chapter or even the regional chapter, it's really getting out there in the community, and really being that face, and connecting it to the larger organization, because all of us can, those are people here who do serve in, like, their local chapters, and that's great, and other organizations. And there's a reason why we're at SPJ versus trying to lead in the various other journalism organizations that are out there. And so I think I would try to connect it to in the most humanly way possible. It's almost like a presidential campaign in that sense, where you're really talking to people, but you never know what one word and one interaction with a student can do in the trajectory of their life. And I learned that myself.
Excellent. And one question to close. I know we got to move to the last contested race. Yeah, Melissa, boom. Love it. Last question is, how either do you, Laura, or will you, Melissa, communicate with your chapters, both student and pro? There's no one good way to do it. I don't know if you love a newsletter or calling every week. Don't do it every week. But what are you doing to make sure the lines of communication are open? Because we've seen what happens when they're not. So, Melissa, let me start with you. How do you like to communicate with fellow leaders?
Another great question. And I think that would be cross collaboration. I know that Laura has been doing amazing things in her, almost year of involvement here. And I think she's learned in her learning curve, she's learned strategy. She's brought her skills to what is useful and what isn't. That would be great to learn from that experience and her involvement. But having my own platform and kind of blog and stuff, and reading the data, I've overseen social media strategies for nonprofit organizations in New York City, graduate students who are in nonprofit programs, and not every type of social media is necessary for our audience, our target audience. So I think there needs to be two-headed. There needs to be a strategy for talking to leaders who are in the organization, who are established. They have a set way they like, whatever it is, they don't, not everyone likes tech, fine. We have to meet people where they are. But also for those who are social media savvy, I do believe in that the data shows that readership in newsletters is important, as well as certain social media aspects. We have to meet them where they are.
Beautiful. And thank you, Melissa. Laura, close us out for this portion.
Yeah, so I feel like we have a long way to go when it comes with being able to communicate with all of our region across Texas and Oklahoma. We have a newsletter. It's not super active because it's just me. So we do have a blog that's been around forever, which is how we posted our, regional conference, how to get the tickets and stuff. And we do have a longstanding Facebook group. I'm trying to think right now if it's a group or a page. I think it's a group. And so, so we have those sort of ways, but I feel like there's so many ways that we can kind of show the story of like what we're doing. Like when you said pictures about the gridiron, I'm thinking, that's great. I should do a little promo video to show the rest of SPJ, like, look at what we're doing in San Antonio. This is cool, and it's like, we do all this for our regular job. We're all journalists, right? We all know how to work a camera and do all these different things, but sometimes we're not the best at selling ourselves and like promoting what we do. So I feel like that's a really good opportunity to really share our stories of what we're doing. Yeah.
Beautiful. Melissa, Laura, thank you so much. That was excellent. I'm so happy see so many great leaders in the organization. And I can tell you as a chapter leader, but never been an RC, there are people here who are chapter leaders, some who are already RCs. I could tell you the worst thing to hear from your RC is nothing. So thank
Yes.
you, all of you, for being good communicators with your chapters. So finally, we're going to end today's Zoom with our Region 3 coordinator race, which covers, Region 3 covers Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. And our candidates are, and I'm looking here, they all here, excellent, are Michael Koretsky, Sal Morales, and Rafael Almeida. And Michael, I don't see your face, but could you please start us off and tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Michael Koretsky. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm on the phone. So.
Yes.
Okay. I'm a financial editor by day.
Michael, maybe a little louder.
Let's try this.
Better.
So I'm the current Region 3 coordinator. Served on the board for a decade. I think one of the other candidates cited the DC conference. That was a partnership with CMA and ACP, college organizations. I sit on the ACP steering committee and on the membership committee and the contest committee for CMA. And I volunteer as an advisor for the student newspaper at Florida Atlantic University, which is a public school down here. That's me.
Terrific. Short, sweet, to the point. Welcome, Michael. Sal, if you could introduce yourself, tell a little about who you are, and if you like, about your vision for SPJ or your region.
Sure. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you so very much for having giving me the opportunity to be able to join you via Zoom and meeting you guys. My name is Sal Morales. I am a television news reporter. I've also been the jack of all trades, basically. I have worked as an anchor, as a weatherman, as the assignment editor, as a producer, as a field producer for over 25 years here in the United States. My primary language, is Spanish, and that I have worked for major, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. I have worked for, the usual suspects like Univision and Telemundo networks, as well as the local outlets, Channel 23 and Channel 51 here in Miami. But I also have lived in California. As a matter of fact, we moved from my native Nicaragua to San Francisco, and that it was interesting for me to, then we moved to Miami. My dad got a job here, and it was interesting for me to go back to San Francisco after I grew up, I guess, and see it as a journalist or see it as an anchor. It was interesting. Many things, as you guys have noted, have changed in the last 20-something years, but since I began this career. But one thing that does not change for any one of us right here, and those of you who are going to be seeing this later, is the love that we have for journalism. I want to acknowledge Michael Koretsky and Rafael Olmeida, because they have set the bar high in Florida and in the region. However, I think we need probably new ideas when it comes to communicating, reaching out, being a little bit more proactive when it comes to their membership here at SPJ. And that one of the things that you will be able to read in my platform is that I am intensely interested in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, although I'm not Puerto Rican myself, Puerto Rican, I feel that it's like the ugly duckling of maybe some of the associations. Why do I say that? because we know it's there, but we don't pay much attention to them. There are great, great, great journalists in San Juan, Mayagüez, El Centro, Fajardo, and their work should be recognized and they should be acknowledged. I think that diversity in this group should be not in the background, but it should be in the front. People who have accents like myself, people who can do jobs like I have done for Univision Telemundo and recently at Estrella TV in Dallas. But also I have been fortunate enough to be, I'm proud to say that I have worked with Maria Hinojosa, who some of you guys have heard or know who she is. I was one of the very few people, I guess, when she started with Maria Martin, Latino USA. I used to do commentaries for that. So for me, the ability to be bilingual has not been a hindrance. A lot of people say that, that I have an accent. I actually don't, but maybe because I hear myself and I don't hear it. Maybe that's the reason why, it has been, part of my life. But what I really do feel is that we need to be more inclusive. And before I wrap up, because I know that we're limited in time, the way that I see myself as a regional coordinator is being an instrument of communication. Many of us have said at some time or another that we are in the communication business, but we don't communicate among ourselves. And that I have a plan to start if not a website, a means of communication, a landing page, something like that, which will not only be in English, but also will be in Spanish. Why? Because we not only are targeting Puerto Ricans, but we are targeting people that live in our region that speak Spanish. CNN en Español, where I used to work at, is out of Atlanta. And a lot of people there, need to be with us. That's what we need to do. I mean, we need not to act disenfranchised for, I think that's the right way to say it, from the group. We need to unite. We need to be there for each other. And the last thing I want to say is this, that the reason why I'm running is because I respect SPJ a lot. SPJ has been instrumental, you guys. And this, I can say it with all my heart, especially to the young ones over here. It's not easy. It's not easy, and it's not pretty to lose your job. That has happened to me more times than you can think. Takeovers, new management, contracts end. But you know what doesn't end? SPJ and the freelance community. And for that, because of that, I'm running for Chapter 3.
Thank you so much, Sal. We don't often talk about that part of the journalism career. So thank you very much for bringing it up. It's important.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So, and now if I could turn to Rafael, if you could close out this conversation, and then we'll have a broader conversation among the three of you.
Okay, my apologies. I am picking up a child from daycare right now, so I'm going to be as quick as I can.
Right.
My name is Rafael Olmeda. I am a former president of NAHJ, a former president of Unity Journalists of Color, and a former national board member of SPJ. I was the regional coordinator for NAHJ early on in my advocacy. So I represented many of the same states, not all of them. And I believe that we have a unique opportunity at this time to generate more interest and activity in the things that we're doing. I think, and I know that Michael will agree, we have a situation with SPJ where the question of why anybody would even want to be a member is probably central to the future of our association. I think we're all talking about things that we can do to serve our members, but we're not talking about things that we can do to grow our membership. Michael has been doing that. I applaud him for that. And I think that we need to definitely come up with ideas and programming and larger projects that will bring people to SPJ. We can't just rest on our past. We can't just rest on the fact that, oh, we stand for the First Amendment. We need to make people want to be part of this association. And for that, I think what we need to do is to reconnect with some of our partner organizations and help them realize that being a part of SPJ is not something that prevents them from being part of the organization that they're already part of. For example, if you're a member of NAHJ, you should be part of SPJ. If you're a member of any of the other former Unity partners, you should be part of SPJ. And I think to do that, one thing that we can do, should do, must do in the near future is organize an event region-wide that brings all of the association memberships together. I call it mini unity. You can call it whatever you want, but what we need to do is make sure that we are showing people that SPJ means business. It means journalism. It means First Amendment. It means freedom of the press. We need to show that on a large scale. Otherwise, we're not going to have growing membership. And if we don't have a growing membership, there's not going to be regions to represent anymore. So my feeling and my commitment right now is to make sure that we give members and non-members something to join, something to be a part of, something to fight for, and something to be proud of being members of.
Raphael, thank you so much. That was phenomenal. Let me start with you, since I know you're running a gun. I have a question for you, Raphael, which is, in Arizona, I'm proud to be a member of great affiliate chapters of NAHJ, NABJ, and NAJA. And I attend all their functions because I am stealing ideas all the time, and I've developed great relationships with other people, and our chapter benefits. It's a hard sell, though. How, as a regional coordinator and as chapter leaders, do you encourage members to engage across organizations at the regional level?
Well, I think the first thing is to organize events that they're all part of and invited to, and that's why I'm thinking this mini unity event would be something that will attract people from all the associations. You can't do it alone. We cannot say, you know, here we are, SPJ, we're going to hold a unity event. We need to bring all these groups together and say, okay, when is the best time for you to do this? When is the best time for you? Where is the best place? We have Florida, we have Georgia. Both of them are places that people can gather at with minimal difficulty. You can go from Puerto Rico to Florida easily. You can go from Puerto Rico to Atlanta easily. You can go from North Carolina to either of those places easily. So if we can connect people to a place and then connect people to the proper programming, which obviously we would not develop by ourselves, but in cooperation with these other associations, we can put together a conference unlike anything, a regional conference unlike anything that we've seen. Because our regional conferences have been, very focused on local events and activities. And I think we can revive a national movement here in our region. I think this is the only place in the country where you can pull that off.
Wild. I love that. National change, but you begin at the region where maybe you can make a deeper impact. Appreciate that. Sal, can I turn to you? You've said in your materials and here that relationships you fostered through SPJ and other organizations have been vital in your career. If you're elected RC, how do you build that at the regional level?
Relationships are key in our industry, not only because we get tips from people, but also we get great advice. And I have been fortunate enough to be guided throughout my career by members of NAHJ, SPJ, and the other organizations, NAJA, as well. And I believe that we should and could understand the necessity that we have as journalists to grow and not to be stagnated. I think that we will achieve more if we are united. And basically, I understand that, it's this, it could be difficult for some members, but I think it's not impossible. I think that we have the technology right now to be able to stay in touch with everybody, and as well as make initiatives part of the whole region. There are many states being represented in Region 3, not as many as in the Midwest. And that I do believe, though, that we can find a common ground to be able to express and decide what is it that we want to achieve as a group. Does that answer your question?
Excellent. And I should tell everyone, I expect that we're going to wrap up in about 5 minutes. But if you have to log off, I get it. I'm sorry we went over, but this is all an amazing conversation. So thank you, Michael. As an SPJ leader, money for deserving chapters and important projects has always mattered immensely to you. Do you have any examples you can share of where smartly distributed funds helped chapters, journalists, and their reporting?
Yeah. Can I just go back for a second? I know you only got a couple of minutes, and I wanted to address what Sal and Raphael said.
Yeah, that's, that's actually, Michael, I appreciate that even more, because I'd rather hear, one of my questions to you three, which is a dangerous question, is what question should I have asked, which we all ask as journalists. So Michael, go ahead.
Well, Sal mentioned Puerto Rico, Raphael mentioned the mini unity. I think those are great ideas. So I want to just mention really quickly something that isn't intended to beef up my campaign for myself, as it is to urge not only the Region 3 candidates, but all the candidates here today to do some journalism and interview their predecessors. Because Sal mentioned that I've been in RC for a long time and maybe it's time for new ideas, and I do not dispute that. He's probably right. But first, you need to know the ideas that have already been tried. And I've heard the other candidates mention things, and I have been around so long, too long perhaps, that some of those ideas have been there before. So for instance, Puerto Rico, I've had several Zoom calls with Ana Rocío, who is the president, and her board of the SPJ Puerto Rico, which started under my term. But as an RC, all of you are going to have to know that it's a really frustrating job, because it's kind of like teaching. Like you can be a teacher of the year, but if someone doesn't want to learn, it doesn't matter. So it's been hard to get Puerto Rico moving. We offered them money, offered whatever we can do, but it's a slow going. And as for mini unity, that is a great idea, Raphael. And as RC, SPJ has sponsored multiple regional conferences with NAHJ Miami. I've worked with Pilar, and we've actually done those conferences jointly bilingually. I know that came up also. And in fact, the Sunshine State Awards that Florida runs are bilingual. We just had that ceremony a few weeks ago. NAHJ presents their awards. We present our awards together. We've had events with NAJA, since we have 2 indigenous tribes down here in Florida. So it's not a lack of ideas. It's going to be the execution. So as an RC, it's kind of a weird game, because you don't have a board seat. You don't have a lot of resources at your disposal, and you have to do stuff. And you asked about programming. That's where my passion for this lies. If I lose this RC race, I will offer to help whoever wins. My last time running, someone was up against me, and I offered to speak to her, and she just didn't want to talk to me. That was like, okay, but I'm here to help. This is not This is, let's be honest, this is not, running for president of the United States. I will tell you, I heard a lot about diversity. We talk about execution. There's only one current diversity program that SPJ is running that is not the fellows program at the convention or webinars, and that's called the Renews Project. If you go to renewsproject.com, you'll see what that is. That is SPJers restarting college newspapers on HBCU and HSI campuses. That is a program that is run out of Region 3 in SPJ, Florida. And it's been a chore, right? Raise the money. I don't run that program. I provide all the resources for an amazing journalist, Leslie Wright, to go to these schools and help start these newspapers. We talk about partnerships. We got partnerships with ACP, CMA, NABJ, private industry like Flight Desk and SNO. And that program has been running now to such a degree. We started a newspaper at HBCU. It's been dormant for 20 years in Baltimore. Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, tweeted that out, holding up the paper, a photo of himself congratulating the paper. I could not for the life of me get SPJ to share that tweet. So there are programs that are already running. As an RC, one of the best things you'll do is, sounds boring, but you're going to have to go through all the annual reports, not just for your chapters, but also you vote for chapter of the year. And you get to see that there are some really good programs, participatory programs that SPJers are doing, yet they don't get a lot of attention from candidates like y'all or the board candidates. And if nothing else, to achieve the ends that you guys are all talking about, really the lowest hanging fruit would be to pluck the programs that are already happening. SPJ New England does a cool lobbying program. They do tours of the Boston Globe for journalism students. There's a bunch of chapters that do more than panel discussions under fluorescent lights. All we have to do, for starters, is promote those programs, talk about them. They operate in a vacuum. To me, that is the first thing an RC should do. And then everything else can build from there. But my big hobby horse with all this is I'm only an RC because I believe I can help do those things. If Sal or Raphael wins and they will do those things, I will help them do those things because I know what the job is. This is not a competition to me. This job doesn't come with salary or groupies or esteem or even recognition. There's no more. There used to be a RD when it was regional director of the year. They don't even do that anymore. So you are going to toil in obscurity, and it has to be its own reward. And I will help anybody in any of the regions to do that because I'm not running for this for the glory of it. I'm running because I guess my hope was that I would be able to turn this over someday to someone that would want to be assistant RC, learn the ropes, and then I would just turn it over to them. I think Raphael and Sal would do a great job, but there is kind of a learning curve, not because it's complicated, but because it's kind of depressing. And then once you can overcome those hurdles, you can have some level of success. So I would just leave with this thought that, even in the races that are competitive, I don't think it's really competitive. I don't think anyone who loses is going to pout. And I do think that whoever loses would be more than happy to help out.
Michael, that was phenomenal. I appreciate it. And looking at the old clock on the laptop, I think that's going to have to be the last word. I want to thank everyone. First of all, I want to remind anyone who watches this that they can go to the links, go to Election Central on SPJ, read more about the candidates, contact them if you have questions, reach out. Thank you for everyone for joining us today, and thank you to our talented candidates. You're remarkable. Remember,
thank you for taking the time to do this. No one thanked you.
Nope.
Thank you.
Laboring in obscurity. That's my new motto, Michael. I like that. But actually, my new motto, and Laura's left, I wrote it down when she said it. She said, "Let me raise my hand," when she saw nobody was running a year ago. And you have all done that. You have all raised your hand. You've said you're going to make a difference, and you are. And you know, honestly, all bullshit aside, my heart wells up. I really do. Thank you. If for anyone watching, if your membership is current, you'll be able to vote for the candidates of your choice beginning September 28th. Look for an e-ballot about then in your email. Again, best of luck to all the candidates running for office, and thank you all members for your involvement. We hope to see many of you in Las Vegas for the annual convention, and next week for the Zoom conversation with at-large and board members, board candidates, and officer candidates. Onward, SPJ. Thank you.